Good morning, Year 2. Welcome to Tuesday's English session. So, before we make a start then on today's task, what I'd like for you to do is just spend a couple of moments having a little look over your cold task from yesterday. Now, as I always say, it does really help if you have a bit of time away from something and then go back to it, because sometimes you can spot things that you didn't necessarily see before. So look at something with a fresh pair of eyes. What we'd like for you to do is read through your work from yesterday. Can you up-level any of your sentences using your green pencil to just see if there's any edits you can make? Have you included capital letters? Have you got your full stops in there? Have you got a question mark at the end where it says who am I or what am I? Okay. Pause the screen now and have a go at that. Okay then, so let's look at our learning intention for today. So today we are going to be seeing if we can perform riddles. Okay. Now, as you know, yesterday we started to look at riddles and what a riddle is, because this week we are going to be looking at a little bit of poetry just to end this term off. Okay. So today we will be learning and performing some poetry. So that means you are going to see if you can potentially learn some riddles or a riddle off by heart today. But just have a little think then, what does the word perform mean? Okay, if you perform something. So I'll give you a little bit of a clue. You might have previously been to dance lessons before, or you might have been to acting classes before, and all of these things involve performing, okay, and putting on a good performance. So have a think then, what does perform mean, and what makes a good performance? So if you were watching a performance, okay, what qualities would they have which makes that a good performance? So pause the screen and have a think about that now. So here's just a few things then that I've picked out as a good performance. So as I said, people who are dancers will be performers. People who are actors will be performers. People who are singers are performers, okay? And I always think of a performance as putting on a bit of a show. So if we're thinking about performing riddles, that would be you learning that riddle and then performing it to an audience and showing that off, okay, like a little bit of a show. So some of those qualities then that make a good performance, these are just a few that I've thought of. But I put the first one there is know your lines. Okay, so if you are an actor or if you have ever been to drama classes and things like that, you will know how important it is to know your lines. So make sure that you are remembering all of those. Okay. The second one I put is to speak clearly and at a good volume. Okay, so speaking nice and clearly, so we don't want to mumble our words, because if we're saying a riddle, then our audience might not be able to understand us, and then that means they won't be able to guess what our riddle is. Okay, so speaking nice and clearly, okay, so making sure that all of our words are pronounced properly, and at a good volume, because if we're whispering, they're not going to hear us. Okay, so a nice volume, we project our voice out to make sure that everyone can hear us. Now, I've said a good volume, and I haven't put a loud volume because sometimes people take that as shouting. And just like if you're speaking really quietly, if you're shouting words, sometimes they can also become distorted and you can't hear what the words are properly. Okay, so we try and project our voice, so push our voice out without shouting it. Now we should try and use expression in our voices, and we talk about this a lot in reading skills. So trying not to speak all on one tone, we try and make sure our voice sometimes goes up and sometimes our voice goes down. Okay, so using expression in our voice, because then that makes it more enjoyable to our audience, doesn't it? Make eye contact with your audience. Okay, so if we are performing to our audience, we want to speak out to them and not speak to them over here, because again, that won't be as exciting for them, will it? Now, another one here is to add actions to make your performance more exciting. Okay, so when you are choosing your riddle today that you would like to learn and you would like to perform, you might choose to add some actions to it. Okay, And again, this just makes it more exciting and more enjoyable for the audience. Okay, so you don't have to add actions, but you could maybe think about some of those words. And just like we do when we're learning a model text, okay, actions actually might help you to learn the words a little bit more. We did learn actions to the Acorn poem by Julia Donaldson before, so I wonder if you can remember those. And the last one, I've put this in big capital letters. And I've put be confident. Okay, so have a think, what does confidence mean? So when we're confident, it means the opposite of being shy. Okay, so you don't want to be shy and be all small and be really nervous and just be whispering. You want to be nice and big, nice and confident. Okay, because again, that makes it even more enjoyable for your audience. So on today's session then on Teams, I've attached a document which has got several different riddles on there, okay? So you can have a look through and you can pick which one is your favourite, and you might even choose two. And what I'd like you to do is have a go at learning your riddle off by heart. Okay, so when you learn something off by heart, that means that you know it without having to look at it. And I could say to you, tell me that riddle, and you'll be able to just tell me it. Okay, it's all from your memory. Now, as you know, riddles aren't very long, so it shouldn't be too difficult for you to learn it off by heart today. And as I said, you can add actions to them, okay, to make it more enjoyable to your audience, and then just practice performing them today. And when you are practicing them, I want you to have a good think about all of these different things that I've just gone through. Do you know your lines? Are you speaking clearly at a good volume? Are you using expression in your voice? Are you making eye contact with your audience? Are you adding actions to make your performance more exciting? Okay. Are you being really confident? Okay, so all of those things. And then think about what makes a good performance. Okay, so you can maybe have a go at videoing yourself, watch it back, and you could think, oh, maybe I need to speak a little bit more clearly on that bit, or maybe I can add some more actions to make it more enjoyable. Okay, and once complete, then you can have your adult film you, and you can send those across to us so we can see your performances for today. Okay. Now, if you need a little bit of support with that today, that is fine. You could always keep those words up, okay? So keep the riddles up that I'm giving to you, and you could use them like a prompt. So when you're using them like a prompt, that doesn't mean that you're reading from them, okay? Just reading. Because if you're just reading from them like this, that means that you won't be making eye contact with your audience. And as you know, that's something that makes a good performance, okay? So use them as a prompt just to remind you. You might have them next to you, quickly glance, and then that's reminded you of what it is that you are going to say. Okay, so you can do that if you need a little bit of support today. Now, as a bit of an extra stretch, so if you want a bit more of a challenge today, you could maybe write your own, or you could research a different riddle that I and Miss Broadbent then have to guess. Okay, so that's a bit of an extra stretch challenge if you want to. Okay, now you may be thinking to yourself, Mr. Laderman keeps talking about an audience and keeps going on about an audience, but what if I don't have an audience? If you don't have an audience, that's absolutely fine. I bet at home you have got some teddies or some toys which you could set out somewhere and they could be your audience. You've just got to use your imagination a little bit and imagine that they are all people sitting and watching you and expecting a really good performance from you. Okay, so you could put them far across the room and practice projecting your voice out to them and entertaining your toys or your teddies if you want to, or if you don't have people in your house. Okay, so that then is our challenge for today. So there's no writing today. You're not expected to write anything down unless, of course, you're doing that stretch or stretch challenge today. Okay, so myself and Ms. Broadbent cannot wait to watch your performances. As I said, I will attach the examples that I've put on there. You could learn one or two, but have a look through and choose your favourites. Okay? Can't wait to see them, everyone, and I'll speak to you soon. Goodbye.